I used to believe that ghosts were tied to places, old mansions, abandoned hospitals, battlefields wrapped in fog. It was easier that way. If the haunting belonged to a location, then you could avoid it. You could choose not to go there. You could drive another road, take another train, close a door, and feel safe. What I did not understand then is that some spirits do not anchor themselves to buildings or graveyards. Some attach themselves to moments, to guilt, to unfinished gestures. In Japanese folklore, they speak of wandering spirits, restless presences born from sudden death, from humiliation, from betrayal, from grief so sharp it leaves a permanent tear in the fabric of the world. They are not always loud. They do not always rattle chains. Sometimes they follow quietly, patiently, until the right hour. I learned this not in Japan, but on an ordinary commuter train in the United States. It was late October, cold enough for coats, not yet cold enough for snow. The kind of season when daylight drains quickly and evenings stretch longer than they should. I had started a new job in the city and taken to commuting by train each day, 40 minutes in the morning, 40 minutes back at night. The routine was predictable. The platform smelled of coffee and metal. The loudspeaker crackled with delays. People stared at their phones, sealed inside private digital worlds. Every evening, I boarded the 9:12 train home, and every evening she was there. At first, I did not notice her consciously. She was simply part of the background. A young woman standing near the far end of the platform. Dark coat, long black hair that fell forward, obscuring part of her face. She never looked at her phone, never paced, never spoke to anyone. She just stood there, still, watching the tracks. The first week, I assumed she was another commuter. The second week, I realized something unsettling. No matter how crowded the platform was, no matter how early or late the train arrived, she was always in the same position, same distance from the yellow safety line, same slight tilt of the head, as though she were listening to something no one else could hear. One night, the train was delayed by 20 minutes. The crowd grew restless. People checked watches, sighed, muttered about schedules. I glanced down the platform. She had not moved. Wind lifted her hair slightly, revealing her face for the first time. Her expression was not neutral. It was strained, eyes wide, not with fear, with anticipation. Oh-ha! The train finally arrived, headlights cutting through the dark. The rush of air pushed against us. People shuffled forward. Doors slid open. I stepped inside, and for the first time, I saw her board. She entered through the last door of the final car. I had never seen her sit before. But that night, curiosity pulled at me. I moved between cars until I found her. She sat alone at the far end, hands folded in her lap. No bag, no phone, no visible breath, despite the cold air seeping through the doors. I took a seat across from her. For several minutes, nothing happened. The train rocked gently. Stations blurred past. My reflection trembled faintly in the window behind her. Then she spoke, without lifting her head. "Do you hear it too?" Her voice was soft, almost distant. I hesitated. Hear what? She slowly turned her eyes toward me. Not her head, just her eyes. "The announcement," she said. There was no announcement, only the rhythmic clatter of wheels on tracks. "I don't hear anything," I replied. Her lips parted slightly. It calls names. A chill slid down my spine. I laughed awkwardly. Probably just interference. The speaker system glitches sometimes. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she whispered, "It called mine." The lights flickered. Just once, and in that flicker I noticed something that made my breath hitch. Her reflection in the window did not match her movement, while she sat perfectly still. The reflection's head tilted further at an impossible angle. I blinked hard. When I looked again, everything appeared normal. The train slowed for my stop. I stood, unsettled. As the doors opened, I glanced back. Her seat was empty. No sound of footsteps, no movement toward another car, just empty fabric where she had been sitting seconds before. The next night, she was on the platform again. Same spot, same posture. Waiting, I told myself I would ignore her. But at 9:12, as the train approached, she stepped closer to the yellow line, too close. Her toes hovered over the edge. The wind from the train pushed her coat backward. For a second, just a second, I thought she might fall. But she didn't. She remained balanced in a way that seemed unnatural, as though gravity had loosened its hold. On the train, I did not seek her out. She found me. When I looked up from my phone, she was seated directly across from me, closer this time, her face pale, eyes darker. "Do you hear it now?" she asked. I strained to listen. Nothing. Then, very faintly, over the train's mechanical hum, a distorted voice from the overhead speaker, not announcing a station, not static, whispering. The sound was layered, overlapping syllables, names perhaps, or fragments of them. The speaker, light above us, flickered. Passengers around us did not react. They scrolled, they texted, they yawned, unaware. "It's choosing," she said. My mouth felt dry. Choosing what? Her eyes lifted fully to mine. "Who gets off?" "Hoko." The train jolted violently, not enough to derail, but enough to send a ripple of alarm through the car. A man near the door stumbled. The overhead announcement crackled louder. A name emerged clearly. "Daniel!" The man near the door froze. His name badge, visible on his jacket, read Daniel. The doors slid open at the next station. He stepped off, calmly, mechanically, as though responding to a routine stop. The doors closed. The train pulled away. Through the window, I saw him standing on the empty platform, not moving, head slightly tilted, mirroring her posture. My pulse thundered in my ears. "That's not possible," I whispered. She leaned closer. Her voice dropped to a breath. "It never stops at the last station." "What?" "It doesn't stop," she repeated. "Not for us." The temperature inside the car plummeted. My breath fogged faintly now. Other passengers remained unaffected or unaware. The reflection behind her shifted again. This time, I did not look away. In the glass, her mouth stretched wider than it should have, smiling, while her real face remained expressionless. "Oh, I got off once," she said softly. "The train lights dimmed. I thought it was my stop." Her fingers tightened in her lap. "But the platform was empty." The whispering announcement grew louder. More names, layered, overlapping, crawling through the speakers like insects. "I've been riding ever since," she said. The train began accelerating beyond its usual speed. Stations blurred without slowing. The digital display malfunctioned. Letters scrambled. The doors remained sealed. I stood abruptly. "I need to get off." She tilted her head. Slowly. Painfully slowly. "You already did." The lights went out. Total darkness. The train continued moving faster, faster. The announcement voice shifted. Now clear, now singular. It spoke my name, not once, 3 times. "Oh, I do not remember how the lights returned. I only remember standing alone on a platform, silent, deserted, no signage, no other passengers, just the hum of distant electricity. I turned. Behind me stood the young woman, but she was different now, less solid, edges blurred. "You hear it now," she said. It was not a question. I could hear it, faint, from the tracks, from beneath the concrete, from somewhere far down the dark tunnel. Whispers, names, waiting. Oh, I woke up the next morning in my own bed. Sunlight through the blinds, alarm clock ringing, everything normal. I convinced myself it had been a dream. Stress, overwork. But that evening at 9:12, I found myself back on the platform, without remembering how I had arrived. The crowd stood around me, ordinary, unaware, at the far end. She stood, waiting. This time, when the train approached, she did not step forward. She looked at me directly and smiled. Behind her, another figure stood near the edge. A man, wearing a jacket with a name badge. Daniel, head tilted, listening. The loudspeaker crackled, static. Then a name began forming, slowly, carefully. It was not Daniel. It was not hers. It was mine. The train roared into the station. Wind howled. People surged forward. And as I felt the push of the crowd against my back, I understood something that Japanese folklore has always known. Some spirits do not haunt places. They haunt thresholds, crossings, moments between departure and arrival. They wait where choices narrow to a single step. And once your name is called, you do not ride home. Tonight I am on the train again. The car is full. No one looks afraid. No one hears the whispering. But I do. It is growing clearer, closer. The girl sits across from me, her reflection smiling wider than her real face. The announcement crackles overhead, static, shifting into syllables. I close my eyes and wait. Because sooner or later, everyone's name is called.